What's up, everyone? It's Rafa here, and I wanted to do a review of today's session, the morning session specifically, because I noticed something pretty interesting on the call GEX lines, and something that we don't see very often. So I wanted to call it out so that everybody can also watch out for it. So basically, I mean, there wasn't that many interesting things at the beginning. We opened up, had this move lower, call GEX and DEX were both dominating to the upside, which a few of us called out in chat. You know, we had a few of these moves throughout the day where we had to move up and then quickly move down. We have a few of those throughout the day. This is a 5-second chart. If you're not familiar with how we typically look at this chart, but alas, so you know, GEX was positive, which is down here, and then DEX was also positive, which is right here. The blue line was dominating, and we were above the zero line. Also on CPR, we were above its zero line, which is 1, which just sort of made sense. We kept dipping and pushing higher. I kept saying, okay, we have good breadth, and it's kind of time to buy the dips. We just have to figure out a good spot and be buying them. So call that out on chat. And then what happened here in the morning that I wanted to call out, so that was the zoomed out version of this. But once we're zoomed in, one thing I noticed was as we kept, we made this high up here, which coincided with DEX and GEX and CPR making new highs. Typically in the morning, if we're making new highs or new lows, you would expect to also see that happen in all of the respective lines. Otherwise, something may be kind of off. But in this case, they coincided right through here. But then we came over here, and as we started getting towards the highs, we did make a new high here and here and here. But as we kept trending higher and higher, it's great that we made new highs because that typically means that it leads price. So it means that price will likely make a new high from the previous high where these lines made their previous highs. So if we keep going over to the right, eventually we get to this new high. And you can see this right here. I'll move my cursor, but price spiked and then it came back down. And all throughout this period of time, you didn't actually see a new high on these lines. CPR was making new highs, which is great. It means that our 3 lines are not quite aligned because one of them is actually moving along with price, but the other 2 weren't quite there. I called this out in chat. I was like, there's quite a divergence here. And then at one point we had these divergences plot. And once we started seeing these lines turn, we can sort of start seeing, I'll move slowly through here. You can see how it just starts developing this downtrend. But it's easier to see it on the gray line because it's the total. And you can see how the divergence, started finally playing out. And it took its sweet time. It's something, this is the reason why I wanted to make this video, is because you don't really see this amount of time go by and a divergence happen for this long. And I mean, it's great because it gives you enough time to prepare for the downturn, which it eventually happened. And I think we went all the way down to the put lines, to these put cluster. And this is a dynamic line. Came down here, touched it, bounced, which is pretty typical on the first touch. And then we pierced through it, back tested it. And again, typically in the first back test, it's a good short. And then, the rest of the day played out the way it played out. I didn't really want to do a review for the entire day. I'll just scroll through if anybody's curious. There's a nice move up through here. You can see right through here, these lines are crossing back and forth, and there's no clear direction. And then eventually they do separate. The blue line starts making new highs compared to its recent range, and then the red line starts making new lows. The total line, which is the gray one, starts ramping up pretty quickly. That means that there's a good amount of acceleration and that there's likely going to be continuation. So that was pretty nice. At one point, I really thought we were going to get to this call cluster. We got really close, but didn't quite get there. We were 6 points away. And yeah, at the end of the day, we came down and touched the put cluster that had moved up once more, and then we closed right on it. But yeah, that is all I wanted to do. Hope this video helps, and I'm going to try and make these every once in a while, especially when I see new things like that, or not new things, but just things that don't happen very often, just so that they're recorded and people can go back and watch them. But anyway, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks.